Go down.
Sorry. Okay, so sorry. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk very briefly on sustainability and human rights and the links to TAFISA. So already yesterday, in some of the keynotes you have listened to, it was about these issues. So just let me start with. That's better. Yeah, I can do it. So that's an overview on the Sustainable Development Goals approved 2 years ago by the United Nations, and they have been mentioned several times yesterday. 17 goals for all the countries of the world, and I just will give you a short introduction. So it's the agenda for 2030 for sustainable development of every country of the world, because every country has to contribute and every country in the world still has to develop to really reach these goals. The goal is to end poverty, protect the planet and ensure prosperity for all. And the main issue is to strengthen global solidarity. And I already today listened to some presentations talking about solidarity and how important it is for TAFISA and all the members as well. It's focused on the poorest and the most vulnerable people in each country all over the world. And it needs the participation of all countries, all stakeholders and all people. And there is one special point on sport. So that's number 37, it's all numbered through. Number 37 is on sport as an important enabler of sustainable development. And if we have a closer look onto this, I just made in red some of the key words. It's development and peace, tolerance and respect, empowerment of women and young people, individuals and communities. It's about health, education and social inclusion. And I think you have quite often heard all these words during the last 2 days. So the Sustainable Development Goals, if they are talking about sport, they are talking about TAFISA. So it's about you. And that's setting the goal and the standard for you and what TAFISA and all the member federations can contribute to the development of the world, to make a better world. You heard it yesterday several times, and it's really TAFISA's task to contribute, and you all have good chances to help the world to become better. So that's very briefly on the Sustainable Development Goals, because I don't have to tell you a lot about it. It's already your work, your task, and what you are thinking and doing. So second point, human rights. Just again, a very short introduction. In 2011, the United Nations approved the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. And now you may ask, business? We are sport for all. What about business? In the beginning, it was about big companies, because the United Nations have seen that really to improve the situation of human rights all over the world, it's not enough to just talk to the states, but big companies, global companies have a lot to contribute. That's why this process started. But then, during the last years, we had a lot of criticism towards the big sport organizations, because there were human rights abuses, especially at major sport events. So all of a sudden, the IOC, FIFA, UEFA, IAAF, all the big sport organizations realized, wow, maybe we should take care of human rights. And so there is one instrument. It's started for business, but you can transfer it to sport organizations. So now the IOC, FIFA, UEFA and other big sport organizations have started to work on the basis of the UN Guiding Principles. So we can as well say UN Guiding Principles on business and sport and human rights. And maybe you didn't realize, but yesterday, by approving the new statutes with the preamble, you committed to work on your responsibility as TAFISA to human rights and to use the UN Guiding Principles as TAFISA's instrument for the approach on human rights. So you are really one of the international sport organizations far advanced so far, because you have already put it into your statutes. So the UN Guiding Principles are saying, yes, of course, it's the states at first place, their responsibility to protect the human rights of their citizens. That's the main issue. But business and sport have the duty to respect human rights and to see that their operations don't affect negatively human rights of people they are dealing with. And then what is very important is to give access to remedy if some human rights abuses have occurred, because it's very important then to help the people whose rights have been violated, and that's a very important principle. So, what's the approach of the UN Guiding Principles? At first, you have to analyze your responsibility. What human rights risks are linked to your operations? And you have 3 steps or 3 different parts of responsibility where you cause human rights abuses, human rights violations. Of course, you have the highest responsibility to deal with it or to avoid any risk and be careful not to breach human rights. Then there are issues where you contribute. You're not causing yourself, but you're contributing. And the less important responsibility where your operations are just linked to human rights abuses. So you have to analyze your risks, and then you have to set priorities and of course take care of your most severe, most salient risks and see how can you avoid human rights abuses, what can you do on the prevention aspect. And for doing this, you need a grievance mechanism. You need to be able that people can call, that people can inform you there's something going wrong. We need to take care of this situation and to see how you can support remediation if something has occurred. So that's very briefly again, because we have much more speakers today. I can't give you more information right now on how the UN Guiding Principles ask not just businesses, but as well sport organizations to live up to their responsibility for human rights. And it's not just in your own country, but it's as well in your supply chain. So if you are buying clothes, you have to think about the people producing them. Under which conditions are they working? Should you take an approach to tell your supplier of clothes, of training suits, whatever you are needing for your company, where to buy and which conditions you will have for the employees. So that's just a short overview on the approach, and I would be very happy if TAFISA not just put it yesterday into its statutes, that you will live up to your responsibilities, but that you will as well be a leading organization in this area, because again, sustainability and development of the world into the right direction really needs responsible sport organizations like TAFISA, and it's all about what you are already doing and what of course you can try to achieve even more to really make the world a better place. So thank you very much, and please don't never forget, sport has a very high leverage, and we heard it in several presentations. Use this leverage. Use your power, telling the people we are about sport, we are about health, we are about empowerment of the youth and so on. And that's why we have to have a say in the development of our own country and beyond. So thank you very much.